owning the day. Owning the day.
Now, the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you on the buy side may not be right for some on the sell side, because it takes
different strokes to move the world. Yes, it does. It takes different strokes to move the world.
Here's Adam and Gareth.
Hey,
everyone.
That theme song always gets me so hyped. Not different strokes. The ad tech ad talk theme song always gets my juices flowing.
Me too, Adam. Thank you for coming, everybody. We're excited to bring AdTech Ad Talk back. I'm still alive after a bout of COVID last week, which I thought was over, but is not. And we are so happy to have all of you here. Thank you again, everyone in chat. Feel free to just lurk as much as you like, or if you're feeling haughty, type in a question. We will answer anything and everything and tell you secrets that hopefully won't get us sued. And welcome to the Can edition, as you can tell by Adam.
I'm a little blurry this week, yes. I'm on the Wi-Fi's. I'm in France, where the Wi-Fi's are strong, but I did not bring a green screen. And yeah, I got some sunburn on my face, which feels hot.
Hey, you look good, though. You look healthy.
Thanks. It was roasting. It must be one of the hottest places in Europe. There's no wind. It's a beach town with no wind, which is presumably why they put the port there. But my French friends were telling me that Cannes isn't supposed to even have the film festival. It was only because of the Nazis that it was moved here.
Really?
That's what they say. We'll look it up and confirm next week.
What? That's a wild factoid that I was completely unaware of.
Well, that's what they say, that the film festival started in Nice, and Nice was controlled by Vichy, and Cannes was in the free zone, and then Cannes refused to give the festival back after the war. That's the story I just heard from my French friends. Yes, Charlie, it's a conspiracy theory. We could find out if it's true and take them up on it next week. Find out about it. But do you have any questions about Cannes? I don't know. It's not very tech related.
What was your favorite? Were any sessions worth talking about?
I'll say that there was a session with a very high profile data company that Charles has been wanting to work with, where one of the leaders of this company revealed that he is a fan of the show. That was my favorite, that he watches the show. He's one of the elite. A couple of hundred people watch the show and ask questions. And my whole team was like, well, this is Adam's favorite meeting now. Like, we don't need anything else from you guys. Like, and it was true. I was so happy. He said he hasn't asked a question yet, but he will. And it's we're starting to penetrate the elite of the Cannes set. So that was great news.
Very much not surprised, even though, as you can tell, I am not in Cannes.
You're not. I think the guy was a fan of yours. I think he knew you from some sell side business. But I won't dox him here on the show. But it wasn't me. It was you that got him first to the show. But he did give us a lot of encouragement that the buy side sell side banter is the way to go. A new idea for a show, even though many have I want to say copied, but have followed us in having a live video show instead of a podcast. I thought that was interesting. Now there's a few of them. I think we were first, but live is the way. But no one can match the buy side sell side banter that we have. So yeah,
I think it's really important. And just as like an aside, I'm having a lot of conversations recently, right? I have a lot of conversations on the sell side, and I can tell you the sell side still has a skepticism. They just do. They do not trust the buy side. And it's this really fascinating adversarial thing where The assumption is that the buy side will screw them over at every turn, and that programmatic is single-handedly responsible for the destruction of their businesses, and it will continue to destroy them. And I just couldn't disagree more and think that that kind of adversarial mindset is actually the problem, not the like solution. Like we don't need to be
Yeah.
defending ourselves from each other. Um, and
On the
Ali
buy
had a
side, it's a little
post. Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go to Ali's post in a sec. God, I heard so much about Ali's posting, Ken. She's such a freaking celebrity. The
That's
young women
great
were
though.
coming up to me and were like, "Do you know Ali Manning?" And someone would be like, "That's his wife," and they'd be like, "Holy smokes!" But
Uh,
I was saying on the buy side view of the sell side is, I don't know. There's some distrust, but it's more that the sell side is unknowable. It's that
I it's
we have no
it is
idea.
Mad
We can
Men.
never know what you guys are doing. I'll
And
tell you.
it's there's a Mad Men elevator scene, right? Where like someone thinks like says like I hate you so much or like XYZ and then like his reply is, "Well, I don't think about you at all." Like and I think there's a component of that where it's like, "Well, I ran a domain report for my campaign and it had 3,000 domains in it. So I'm
Yeah,
not really reflecting too powerfully on any individual website. I'm just not doing that." Like
yeah. But also, but
my scale's too
even
big.
what people once something people on the buy side think is that you cannot get scale from one or two SSPs. That you need a lot of SSPs. And when I told them about how pre-bid works and how everyone has a pre-bid line in their ad server, and that you should get all information that way. And the expression I got back was, "Who told you that?" And I'm like, "Gareth Glazer." And they would be like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know Gareth Glazer. I don't know if that's true." So then we did test,
Oh,
as I gave you last week. We did a test in my company to look at reach with only one exchange, and it was very different if the DSP was Google or Trade Desk, and different again if you targeted all SSPs. And then you're like, why do you get so much more scale with all SSPs? And I'm like, well, it could be ID bridging. And again, who told you that? Gareth Glazer. Gareth Glazer told me that. So it's like it's very suspicious to have a source of solid information on the sell side, even if it is Gareth Glazer. Or maybe when you're more when you're more famous, you get more readers for your blog and viewers of this show, your name will carry a weight. When I say Gareth Glazer told me that, they'll be like, oh,
well, my programmatic penetration's good. My brand penetration is zero.
well,
Um,
buy
I do
side, you're
think,
getting
yeah, but it's fascinating, right? Like it's fascinating that no everyone thinks, and I assume that all of these people think that the reason they have so much more scale is because different SSPs work with different publishers, and like
yeah,
that just couldn't be farther from the truth. Like
yeah.
that's just it's not how it works anymore at all.
I've been doing little
So
lessons on prebid.org, and people always it always starts with, okay, prebid in Trade Desk when you get double verified prebid. It's not that. Forget about that. It's nothing to do with
uh,
that word. It's a
I
totally
spent an
different.
entire call with Method Media Intelligence with Mark Goldberg and Shailen Dar, where we were both using the word pre-bid and we were using it with different meetings. And we got to the end of the call and we were like, wait, what were you talking about? It was a thing.
I met prebid.org at Cannes. We had beers at the New York bar. Pretty chill place, and that was good. I learned much more about prebid and prebid server. So my sell side
Ooh.
knowledge is advancing. I dropped your name. They didn't know you. They hadn't heard of you.
Well, who are you talking to?
I don't want to
Racich?
drop it. Yeah, Racich. Yeah,
Yeah, he's new.
he's new. He's new there.
Yeah, you
I
need
know you're
Garrett.
old school.
Garrett was my old boss at Rubicon.
Garrett. Yeah, I think he was there, but I don't know if he was in this particular conversation. Does Garrett still work at Prebid?
Yeah, he's the chairman.
He's the chairman. I
Hmm.
think he was there. I'm not sure if he was there.
Yeah, he took over for Tom Kershaw.
Okay. What are you saying about Ali's post about buy side, sell side?
Oh, so it's a really important one. And I actually think that publishers still don't believe this. They still don't buy it. And Ali's post alluded to when Chalice was optimizing, it drove superior performance at a higher CPM.
Oh yeah.
And the publisher mindset is that advertisers will always want to buy the lowest CPM because they are either misguided in thinking the way to maximize performance is to buy cheap, or they aren't actually measuring performance. They're just delivering against an audience. And if your goal is to deliver, then cheaper is better, right?
Yeah,
Um,
those days are
and
over.
those days are over. I am screaming this from the rooftops to publishers, like, guys, getting buyers more information means they will spend more money. There is no downside. And because the alternative universe, right, is an information asymmetry universe. And an information asymmetry universe is I can charge buyers more when I tell them less. And the reason that that would work is because by telling them less, they don't know why it's working and they can't go get it somewhere else. And therefore, I can control them by not telling them any details whatsoever and just praying that it works really well and negotiating price manually like a human, where like I
Yeah.
peg it in at $10 and hope that it backs out. And that mentality is really deep. It's really deep in the sell side, Adam. It's really deep in premium publishers that's what they need to do. They need to guard and they need to handle. Like, and that's how they
Do,
make more money.
do you think that's a driver in curation?
No,
Okay.
publishers hate curation.
Okay.
Um, because curation allows a middle layer to do
Yeah.
that en masse across lots and lots of publishers. And as someone right now whose business, right, like I'm working on scaling up my publisher footprint, it's like a few thousand websites, but I need it to be 10 or 20,000 because a few thousand websites is not enough for me to scale a PMP with an agency. It's not a thing. And so the scale that curation operates at, this is another misconception amongst publishers, it operates at tremendous scale. Like curation has to curate across all of the publishers in an exchange in order for curation to work. Um, and therefore, it is just like publishers see it as a repackaging of their inventory. And in reality, it's an optimization layer.
So
Um,
what's an example of a publisher charging more and hiding why it works?
you look at traditional agency direct negotiated rate cards with publishers. A publisher will say it's going to be $10. I'm going to deliver you against these placement names and this first party audience that I have. And that's it. That's what you get from me. Like, I
Yeah.
am not going to drill down into things. I'm not going to tell you how I'm optimizing it. I'm not going to tell you, like, I will tell you as little information as I possibly can. Um,
Right. That's
and
corrosive.
it is, but it also, right, the information asymmetry in theory could benefit publishers if they've managed to find an advertiser for whom they're either not measuring performance or the campaign backs out and the publisher can charge for and here's publisher dirty secret. Got a good one for
Mm.
you. The impressions you direct sell are the impressions that are not valuable programmatically. So
Oh
what you
yeah.
go in and you do is you say,
I've been telling buyers that for years. I've been telling brands that for years. But
yeah, it's
when they say,
real.
"How do you know that? Who told you that?" I never had an answer. Now I'll say
Oh,
guarantees.
yeah. My name is being plastered everywhere. Now the publisher, like mafiosos, are going to come for me.
Yeah.
Um, but
I knew
seriously,
that. I knew
that,
that
that
to be true. I mean, that's what dynamic allocation does, right?
well, so in theory, a direct sale should be set up at a higher priority than dynamic allocation. So a direct sale should never lose to dynamic allocation, even if it's paying a lot less. Um, but if I'm a publisher and I'm trying to maximize the amount of money that I make, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want the programmatic one to win when it's paying more, and then the brand one delivers when programmatic's paying less. It's that simple. That's like
But
what yield management is in a flat
clarify
DSP.
that for me. Like if other what specific dynamic allocation doesn't work that way? I thought the point of dynamic allocation was if you have a higher bid, then you can pick out of the guaranteed pool.
Ah, so within GAM, there is the concept of priority. And they've like wiggled this around. Like there's all sorts of different things. GAM used to consist of numbers, so you had like numbers 1 through 12. Dynamic allocation
Mhm.
was priority 12. But historically, you're guaranteed like now they've reduced it to like like multiples of two, so it's like two, four, and
Mhm.
six. And don't quote me on this. I haven't been in game for direct sales in a while, but the concept is that dynamic allocation is set up at a lower priority than your direct sales are, which means that it will not dictate based on price. And that is the historical name of the dynamic allocation priority level is price priority, which means you want to give priority to price.
Oh yeah, but you
Whereas
could put your guarantees in there.
you could you can make it
Okay.
flat.
Right.
But you absolutely could do that. But like,
They might
you're
not
not
pace.
supposed to. Like when
is
you're
is
selling
the
to an agency, the agencies typically are like, okay, we want to guarantee our delivery. The other thing is that, yeah,
that's it. You might
and you
not
got it.
pace.
You might
You're
not
risking your
pace.
delivery. Yeah.
100%. But
What the
also like a
fuck?
lot of
What
agencies want
Google's
this.
all doesn't Google have predictive capabilities where they can make sure you pace while also taking higher bids over your guarantees? This is an AI company, right?
I mean, you would think so. I know that part of rate cards though, right, is that you're going to get premier access. So you will get things
They would
cheaper.
never know. They would
They would
never
never
know.
know.
Then why is it
No,
true
they
that
wouldn't.
guarantees end up being impressions that nobody else wants, given
So
that it has this clarity?
publishers who are clever make sure that their guaranteed line items don't target certain impressions that are valuable programmatically.
How?
And so you can negative target certain key value pairs in game.
Oh, oh, you just
Um,
negative target in market auto for your auto client.
yeah, that's about right.
Oh my God, what a scam.
It's the whole thing's a mess. Everything needs to move to bidding. It all needs to be flat bidding. Like, oh, I got another funny inversion for you. I have a question about this one. And I'm assuming the answer is a glut of inventory. But in TV, smart markets are more expensive than guaranteed, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so it's an inverse of online advertising.
that's
Like,
right. That's
digital
right.
advertising, the guaranteed is the expensive one, and the spot markets are the cheap one.
Yeah.
Um, that's so
The
fast.
way
It still
it's been
fascinates
told to
me.
me is that the entertainment industry cannot function if they don't get cash up front. That it's so expensive to produce these shows that more important than getting a good price for the commercials is to have fill at the beginning of the year, the beginning of each season, each TV season, that you've sold it all and that there's fill and that the money is there. Think of retail work this way. It's like you can't put the clothes in the store until we're sure someone's going to buy them.
It's wild to me because it's a
Yeah,
strange inversion.
yeah.
Um,
If retail was like that, they'd have the clearance sale first.
exactly. And
Yeah.
then when they're in the black, all their prices go up. And that would just it would just never work. Like, it would fail miserably.
Yeah.
It's not a thing.
But no, if you really needed the Gap sweatpants, then you'd pay the higher price, right? That's the spot market. If you really
Yeah.
needed to, yeah. Oh,
Oh,
thank
audience
God, someone's
question.
watching. I bet it's Blue Hawk.
That's not.
No, I knew. I looked.
Ah, it's Blue Hawk.
Beyond AI, what were some unexpected and surprising tech that you thought emerged at Cannes 2025? Any companies to be on the lookout for?
I'd say there was a near total absence of new tech announcements or presence. Like there was a lot of noise, and you expect a lot of hype, and we don't traffic in hype and noise. But the company MIQ was present at Cannes for the first time. I visited their house at the Hotel Martinez, and they have a new AI tool. It's called Sigma. Some people have been talking about it, but what I thought was cool about MIQ is they were demoing it. And this is in contrast to other agency announcements. When MIQ is not an agency, if you're not familiar with MIQ, they're a managed service programmatic house. So they're really good operators in programmatic, DSP agnostic, data agnostic. They do custom algorithms. So they're, some ways like Chalice, but you give them the media budget, like where we just charge for algorithm tech, they take on media budgets. This used to be a really common model in programmatic. It was probably 5 billion or so in managed service programmatic. Now it's closer to 1 or 2 billion, and I think MIQ has the majority of it. So great operators in programmatic, very powerful, and they've never been in market with proprietary tech. So now they have this thing called Sigma. It seems to be more emphasized on the early stages of the programmatic process, like planning and setup than optimization. So it was one reason we were having a conversation with talking about the prospect of maybe their agents talking to our agents in some future state. Be really cool, like building a stack, end-to-end stack from planning optimization and back across multiple agents and companies. But I thought it was really cool that they were demoing. Their product and tech leads were there, and they were saying they were doing demos for agencies in almost every meeting, and they had done thousands of them. And I was real curious about that because even in any tech, I'm sure Gareth will agree, it's nerve wracking to do even one demo of a new product, under the pressure of it coming out right and looking good and not breaking in any way. And they were doing thousands of them. So even though I didn't see this demo myself, it's a good sign that MIQ built something real and like they're a new company on the scene.
Hmm.
So that was my first
Is that similar to like Scope 3's like planning
pick.
product?
I'm gonna say no. Scope three's planning product seemed like you know, focused on content, right? It was on content matching contents to briefs, which
Yeah.
is really a really cool capability and something. And also the Scope 3, you know, goes to activation and that you press a button. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's demo of that in video, but that came out a few weeks before CAN. I recommend watching that demo and seeing what Scope 3 is up to. I would say Scope 3 makes a lot of Scope has a lot of overlap with other companies offering. So I'll call
Yeah.
out Cognitive, which has for years had an offering similar to what Scope 3 demoed. And my keys, man, might be original or might be like others, but like I say, they're good operators. So good on them for showing up. I mean, the thing it can, it's an expression of media money and power. Uh, the giants competing with each other for the splashiest presence and tons of branding all over the place. The parties are somewhat competitive, and who could have the most lavish and the best champagne and steaks and raw bars and all that. And to invest, you for MIQ to invest also shows that their confidence that they really have something. A company that's been mostly behind the scenes is making their presence known at Cannes and spending a bunch of money to do so. It says something. But we were talking about adjusting CPMs and higher CPMs. When I said it's all over now, I wanted to call out WPP. The WPP announcement of their new tech was somewhat exciting, right? They're claiming a lot of territory around AI, and they haven't publicly demoed anything, so who knows what they really have. But right after that, they followed up with a shot across the bow at Publicis, and it's very, very rare. Gareth, did you follow this story? It's very rare for the holding companies to attack each other publicly.
Yeah.
And they attacked them over Epsilon SSP, which they said is a low quality SSP. But the super interesting part is when they released this report, which didn't seem like a very thorough analysis of SSP quality, but did adjust the CPMs according to attention, saying that the low price wasn't necessarily better, that you have to do a value adjustment on the SSP impressions for their attention value. And WP sort of done that before. They're the ones who said they'd only buy viewable impressions, but this was really a quantitative value adjustment of the type buyers should be doing all the time and that sellers should be aware of, right? As in contrast to what Gareth was saying, that if you sell something cheap, we're going to value adjust it and see if it's worth anything at all. And if you sell something expensive, we're going to value adjust it and find out if it was worth what we paid. So this is the mentality, and the conversations I had at Cannes, everyone is more or less there in saying that there's no cheap or expensive media. There's media that costs less than its value to you, and there's media that costs more than its value to you, and
Oh,
that could fall anywhere on the scale of pricing.
it's
That's
so
that's
healthy.
that's
I
the way
mean,
to think about it.
yeah. I mean, the other one that I go off on all the time is the concept of quality. And all of these things need to be assessed campaign by campaign. It is perfectly possible that you have a campaign that's creative is so powerful that it can turn lower quality placements into effective placements for that campaign. And in that case, it could realize tremendous value because as the market wises up and as like this value perception becomes a thing, low value, low quote unquote quality inventory could become a source of like deals for really good advertisers. And I think that the world is going to like evolve in this way where if you have as an advertiser aren't just good at buying the good stuff, you get good at buying the mediocre stuff. That's where you maximize ROAS, right? Because the mediocre stuff should get cheaper over time. It just should because it's mediocre. It's
Mhm.
going to be so much fun, like as the world comes
Can
into
you
this.
can you illustrate that with an example? So if I think if the creative's good, then that's doesn't matter. The publisher doesn't matter. So if it's the creative that's really driving the performance, why are
Ah,
some placements better than others? Yeah.
yeah. So let's say you have an ad place. excuse me, sorry. Let's
Live
say you
show.
have an yeah, COVID. So let's say you have an ad placement that's halfway down the page that has very mediocre time in viewport. So basically, when users are reading this article, they scroll past this ad pretty fast.
Yep.
Um, if your creative is bad, the user will likely just scroll past it and the ad will accomplish nothing. If the creative is good and is appropriate to that user in that moment, you could take that relatively low attention, perhaps even high ad density ad slot, and your creative grabs them. And what that means is that, yes, I think there is something to a good creative can make anything perform well. Um, but well, that's on the relative scale, right? If there's another ad that's at the very bottom that the users never scroll to, there's no creative on earth that could make that advertisement placement work, because that ad placement will never work. It's not viewable.
Oh, I see. So you're
Um,
saying there's like tiers of trash. There's high potential cheap
correct.
impressions and low
And it's
potential cheap
everything is
impressions.
on a spectrum. It's all a spectrum. And
Yeah.
this is a big part of what my company does is we create the spectrum. We don't generally pass judgment on things. We are deconstructing the opportunities and creating the spectrum for people to make decisions upon. We pass the data in raw. And I think that in the future, right, as these data points make their way to the buy side, on a per campaign basis, you're going to be able to say, ooh, this campaign has a strong creative or it has a really strong audience fit on these specific types of pages. Therefore, we can buy the crummier placements and still achieve ROAS. Um, but
Yeah.
then again, there are, of course, placements that exist that no campaign will make work, and those should be rooted out of the ecosystem.
Are you building a quality spectrum or a price spectrum?
Quality,
Quality
I don't
spectrum.
touch price.
We're doing quality spectrum too. We should match them up. Let's match them up next week live on the show.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're doing a bunch of interesting work because our signals are really focused on live signals, right? So things that cannot be crawled. That's my
Yeah.
world is
And
things that
ours is
cannot
all
be crawled.
crawled. Ours is
You got
all
it.
crawled.
They work
Yeah.
together. Um, but yeah, I think that it's important. I think that we need to get to the spectrum. We need to move away from good, bad, on, off. The world needs to become the spectrum, and various campaigns optimize to these signals the same way that they do browser or like operating system or country, like or DMA. Those are all things that are optimized to by algorithms like Chalice. Our Chalice will go, hey, this DMA for this campaign crushes it, but
Right.
it might not for another one, right? It doesn't like it's perfectly feasible. Um,
All
we
right.
need inventory signals like that.
I have a question for you, but let's take this one from Paul that just came in.
Ooh,
All right, we have a question from Paul. Definitely agree that brands should pay higher CPMs for quality impressions, but shouldn't lower CPA results be balanced against volume of viewable impressions, which may still convert longer term?
Volume of viewable impressions. Viewability is gamed, right? I think Gareth will emphasize this for me. Like, I'm not sure viewability is a signal for anything on the buy side anymore because they set the bar so low at 1 second for display, 2 seconds for video
yeah.
that if
It's
you
just
have,
not a positive signal. It's a negative signal. If viewability is zero, like yeah, that bad.
but if
Um,
it might be untrackable, but untrackable viewability might be a perfectly good placement, right?
yeah,
For no good
I
reason.
I think that a lot of the people who talk about quality as being profoundly scarce. And I just don't think that it is, actually. I
Yeah.
think that it can be, you can find quality, you can find diamonds in the rough in lots and lots of places. Um, and
Yeah.
I
What
think
I hear from
that's the
Paul's
key.
question, sorry to interrupt you, but what
No,
I hear from
please.
Paul's question is like, you should drive CPA and then you should use impressions or share of impressions to make sure that the CPA isn't non-incremental or gamed by the algorithm. And I just don't think that works. I don't think that's good enough. That you have to set the quality bar higher if you want to make sure that this CPA is real. And it won't be low. It won't be low by the standards of buying garbage. It will be higher. And this is from my experience trying to optimize to incremental conversions, right? Comparing to a holdout, compared to a geographic holdout or a PSA holdout, placebo ad. Uh, that the almost everything with very low CPA is depending on a lot of non-incremental conversions,
Interesting.
and you first have to change the model, and and you and viewability or quality becomes the output, right? What you're trying to do is get incremental conversions, and what you find is what quality you need. And I think every time the quality you need will be higher than just viewable. Like if viewable impression is a 2 out of 10, then you need to be at least 3. And there are many cases where you need to be at 7, 8, or 9 in quality to make an effect. But it depends on the creative, how fast the creative works, if it works, when it
Yeah.
works.
It's certainly an interesting like thought, right? Do I because in the like last click performance world, right, they just smatter. Like those are spray and pray campaigns. And I think in the incremental world, you get a lot more sophisticated.
Yeah, I think it's worth spending a second on, because people, it was sort of like a frog in boiling water problem, that prediction was getting better and better. When prediction wasn't that good, if Google predicted 10 conversions, at least a few of them wouldn't have happened anyway. But as Google gets more and more data, Meta too, they get more and more data, and prediction's getting better and better. They get to where all 10 are predicted without the ad, right? With nothing to do with the ad, because they're reading your mail. They see every site you're going to be on. They know if you move. They know you're getting married. They know the last thing you bought, but to predict the next thing you bought. So that number's been getting closer and closer to 10 over the years. Of every time Google predicts 10 predictions, how many of them would have happened anyway and had nothing to do with the ad exposure? So that's really the problem, is that over
That's a
time,
wild thought.
if the algorithm learns, because that's what they're trained to do, to find IDs that will convert and serve
Right.
an impression to them.
And part of that is not who should I serve an ad to, it's who's already a buyer and
Yeah,
who's
just
gonna keep buying.
yeah,
And just make sure I get an ad in front of that person, even if the ad does absolutely nothing.
for as low
Um,
as cost as possible.
yeah. Oh, that's a crazy thought. That's super interesting.
I once showed an
Works for post
advertiser.
view.
I once it's supposed to be a nightmare. I once showed a QSR, restaurant advertiser, who is buying local TV with the agency. We mapped their local TV footprint in like those closed curves around the local TV market, and then we mapped their CPAs in heat mapped, and showed their CPAs get better in the TV footprint, which means the algorithm had figured out where they're showing TV ads and had learned to take credit for them. And I was like, you really should be in these higher CPA areas where there's likely incremental conversions, right? They're
Right.
just taking you're just taking credit for TV here. They were like, get the fuck out of here. They did not want to hear it. They were like, you
Nah, number low
you
good.
bastard.
Number low good, Adam.
Low number good. High number bad. Who are you? Where did you hear this? All right, let's go to the question.
All right. Question from Bluehawk. Any thoughts on the new Open Sincera beta just released? How, where do you see buyers using this, or not at all?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's available so much. I'm a big customer of Sincera, so I haven't compared what we've been getting and buying from Sincera to what's available through the API. But I did take a look at the sort of they have like histogram views of the landscapes. You could see like how many uh you could just look up a domain and see what's their average ad to content ratio and where does that fall against all the other ad to content. So hugely useful. I would say it's really useful for domain analysis, domain level analysis. I think you need page level analysis to really optimize to those metrics. But for studying domains and understanding where domains fall in the landscape in terms of quality, it's going to be hugely useful. And I think, with WPP sort of throwing down the gauntlet around value adjustment, it just opens Sincera is just like another reason there's no excuse not to value adjust. You can, like, Sincera is putting out numbers for free on every domain's quality in different ways. And if you're a big agency and you can't figure out a way to use that to help with quality adjustment beyond viewability, then maybe you shouldn't be doing digital.
Yeah, I definitely think it's useful for buyers to just put together lists, man. This is a better way to do lists. And this is like a universally agreed upon way to do lists. So, like, if you're in that stage where you're just dipping a foot in, I don't know if you can like put a filter in Open Sincera and say, spit out a domain list for me with everyone who has an ad to content ratio of a maximum of this. But
Yeah, I believe you
like,
can. Yeah.
yeah, if you can do that, that's great. Every buyer should be doing that. Like that should be like table stakes for your campaigns. Um,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, for the sophisticated buyers, you're going to need deeper stuff. Like this is a rabbit hole that we can go down. It's one that I spend most of my day going down because I do live on page signals. I don't do crawled signals. But like the people who would need me and would use me are so wildly sophisticated. Like they are thinking about crazy ass things. And I think that like for Open Sincera, the good that it does for the greater ecosystem is just massive because it democratizes the ability to do this. And I think this is why a lot of people have failed in programmatic is because they didn't have a tool that can just tell them don't buy this, right? Like,
Yeah.
like, like your a priori likelihood of success on this website is low.
Yeah,
Like,
it's really sad. Like I was answering Paul's question, that viewability is game. So the story of viewability being gamed is the same story as the MFA story. It's publishers figuring out, all right, I want as many viewable impressions as possible. So I want to squeeze as many ads as I can on the page, and I want to refresh the whole all those ads every 2 seconds. That's how you get an MFA site, right? It's just that was the viewability game. So it took so long for Sincera to come up after MFA. It took like 5 years, right, to get to this point of Open Sincera, where you say, all right, now you could wipe out MFA now. We got the refresh rates and add to content ratio. So publisher, if you want to be a shady publisher, you have to think of something else. And hopefully it won't take 5 years to start monitoring the next thing that
oh, we're already
publishers
here.
come up with. What is it? ID bridging?
No, ID bridging is an exchange function. There's no preventing
Okay.
that. The only way to prevent that is to stop paying for it.
Okay.
No. Publishers find out new sketchy things to do. It's very doable. That is the product that we are building is to create a consensus on what's actually going on. Because
Nice.
hiding is a thing. Like the
Yeah.
publishers know how to hide. They know how to do it.
Mm.
But
All
yeah,
right. More on that. Mm. Lol.
yeah. So I
I'm
mean,
glad
I can
people
fill the
came.
space.
I'm glad people showed up today. Oh yeah, I did want to ask you about floors. When I was talking about how things can't be known, like floors is the primary example. Like, it's like, oh, there's a floor, bid up, and it's like our choices are bid up or don't try. And it's like
Yeah.
it's so dumb. It's like this should be a communication between the buyer and seller. Like, why are
Yeah, I
you,
mean,
it should be a negotiation. Like, why are you insisting on this price? And sometimes
uh,
it's the exchange, and sometimes it's the publisher. We never know. You get floor information, but you don't know who put that floor on. So what's
let
going on?
me see if I can do this in 3 minutes. So the
Okay.
history of floors is strange. Um, the origin of price floors in programmatic was when we were in Victory auctions, and there was a second price auction.
Yep.
And the reason that that is the origin is because in a second price auction, right? So this is the way the world used to work back in the day.
Hmm.
Was a Victory auction means you have buyer one bids $10, buyer two bids $8, buyer one wins but only pays $8 or pays $8.01. The reason Victory auctions are so wonderful and so smart is it means that buyer algorithms can pay the value. They can pay what this impression is worth to them and know that their clear price will only ever be the second highest bid. So it will only ever be what it would have taken them to bid to win. And actually, it's brilliant. Our industry should be built on second price auctions because buyers should be able to bid their value and then pay only what they would have needed to pay to win. Like the second price auction environment, this is such a smart thing that the early RTB people did, where they were like solving this problem and they were like, this is a great solution to this problem. But
Yep.
because of Google's dominance and because of the nature of the ecosystem, we can't have nice things. So
Hmm.
we had to move to first price because what we were doing is we were submitting our second prices to Google's ad server auction, which was functioning on first price. So we're
Yeah.
sitting there. Yeah.
Skip that part. Yeah, I think can't have nice things. It would be
Can't
enough,
have
but
nice
we had
things.
to move to first.
So we had to move to first. But where floor prices played was in Victory auctions, right? Because publishers got smart. And they were like, well, if I can look at my bid landscape charts and predict that there's going to be a large delta between the first and the second price, I can put a floor price in there and I can reduce that delta. So in our first example, right, buyer A pay, bid 10, buyer B bid 8, buyer A clears at 8. I put a floor price in at 9 and I just made an extra dollar because now buyer A reduces to 9, not to 8. That was the first use of floor prices. And that's where they like really came in and people did all sorts of sketchy things. Now, in a first price auction environment, that's not a thing anymore, right? There's no bid reduction for you to capture extra money from. So the utility of floor prices is strange. It's gotten weird. And really what it's come down to is two uses for floor prices for publishers. One, gaming, pure gaming, which is if I send you a bid request with this floor price on it, can I get your algorithm to bid differently? Regardless of whether or not that floor price is real, regardless of whether it corresponds to anything on earth, if I put a number in this field, does the content of this field get your algorithm to spit something different back at me? The moment that it does, I now have an optimization vector, right? Where I can say, what number should I put in this field such that the algorithm bids back to me a more? And I hate that. It's gross.
Jeff Green calls this fuckery.
It is fuckery, but it works. Well, and where it really becomes fuckery is if you're doing this optimization, you actually are doing this on a per bidder basis. So on a given ad impression, you might send 10 different floors out.
Yeah, you're learning how to trick the buy side algorithm.
That's all it is. You're tricking buy side algorithms. So this is fuckery. This still works. It's still a thing. And honestly, if you're a buyer and this happens to you and you don't defend yourself from it and you don't think about it, that's on you. Like this is like
call Chalice.
Yeah, call Chalice. The other place where this is actually really important though, and publishers have to do this is AdX. And the reason that floors work in AdX is because it has to do a conversion from a CPC to a CPM for all of their GDN demand. And within that conversion, Google has a lot of leeway, right? Because that conversion is not, they have to bid before clicks happen. So there's a probabilistic conversion that has to happen where, well, my historical CTR is this, the CPC is this, therefore I think I should pay this CPM. If you can spit a floor at that thing that says, well, you need to pay at least this CPM to win this, sometimes the CPC to CPM conversion algorithm will be like, okay, I still think it's worth it. I'm going to pay a little more. And
yeah, I mean, a click is worth 1,000 times a view.
You got it.
But they don't pay the publisher 1,000 times more.
Correct. They have to do that math, and that's an arbitrage math. And that's a nice place where Google could make a lot of margin, by the way, is when they're charging for clicks and they're paying in CPM. If they're really clever about this, they can make huge margins doing this. So floor prices that help to battle that thing, which is trying to pay the cheapest CPM possible based on the expected CTR, you can win. So I hate the fuckery floor prices. I've never liked them. There are pure floor prices. That's a thing. If I do
the kind I'm most used to is PMPs is where we deal with them. It's like, all right, you got this PMP but it has this floor. God, like, what is that?
They pull them out of a hat, man. Most publishers pull it out of a hat. I'm not joking. And I tell publishers not to do that. I'm like, don't pull prices out of a hat. Don't do it. But they do.
Because you can't get any market read, right? Like it's not a market function. Yeah.
Well, this is our information asymmetry discussion earlier. You'll see lots of publishers spin up PMPs at $3 because that sounds right. And like it just get people to bid more. If the PMP is actually valuable, the price should be higher. And guess what? If the PMP is not actually valuable, then it shouldn't be paying that.
Yeah, it should be discovered, right?
Yeah.
It's called price discovery. You should discover the value and discover the price and compete.
The other funny one is like I close a deal with BMW for $10, like direct, and I don't want them to buy it cheaper programmatically. This is like the original pure floor price. So I like literally go into my thing and I'm like, BMW, $10.
Wow. In the early days of Chalice, we would have customers and we would say, and if they were like, we want you to optimize and we only have PMPs, and we would ask them to mirror them. It's like, can you just add a line item of buying the exact same inventory open exchange? And a lot of times we would get much lower prices. We have some ability to optimize, but it's like all we did was teach you that the publisher is screwing you.
See, now a lot of
Yeah.
people would just say I'm really good at running campaigns. I don't know what you guys are talking about. This is my expertise that you're paying for. You can pay me a 30% margin on the media because my ROAS is that much better.
Oh my God, who would say something like that?
Many trading desks.
Oh, you mean on buy side person could say it's their expertise? Yeah,
Yeah, all of them. All of them would have it.
I know. That is a lot of what's wrong on the buy side is like that the end buyer is not informed. So even trying to inform them is frustrating. So I think a lot of people get to the point where I just have to rip them off like everyone does because I'm not going to be the only one not ripping them off and still struggle to get trust.
I feel like that happens so much and it's so sad.
Yeah.
Like, that's totally a thing. Like, these people don't want to understand this. It's complicated. To be fair, it's complicated. It's a lot of work, but that makes me
Yeah.
sad whenever I hear about that because I know that that's a thing. I know that there's just a level of, well, it's not worth it for me to explain this to you. You're going to pay me anyway.
It's
Like,
a matter of time.
yeah, we need more cam parties.
Education. No one took us up on our procurement lesson, but we will not let that idea die. Teach
That's
procurement how.
crazy. No brands were like, you get a free procurement lesson.
Well, I mean, it's
I
just
would
something we
take it.
talked about on a show that only 100 people watched, but I thought maybe it would leak out and still might. The archive shows are there. Well, let's mention it again. Adam and Gareth are offering procurement class for anyone who wants to understand CPMs in a negotiation.
Yeah.
Hey, it's my old colleague Vijay Kumar, Gale Partners, long time ago.
All right, question from VJ. On floors, why is it called gaming the buy side algorithms when the SSPs, DSPs do bid shading? Essentially, let's try paying less, and if we can continue to win the inventory.
Wait, first of all, this might not be the same Vijay Kumar I worked with at Gale Partners. There might be other people with that
This
name.
is my buddy.
It's your
This
buddy
is
Vijay
VJ
Kumar.
from Mile and Automathead.
Really?
Yeah,
You weren't kidding?
he runs a price flooring company, so you know.
All right. Oh, this question's for you. Good, because it was spinning my brain a little bit.
Oh, I can answer this one.
Okay.
So bid shading, by definition, is simply a value discovery tool. I think it's repugnant for DSPs to take extra fees for bid shading.
Yeah,
It actually blows my mind that they do, because this is your job. This is your job to figure out what should I be bidding for this impression. And in a first price environment, bid shading is absolutely necessary. Bid shading is just, well, there is now a delta between the value that I expect to realize from this impression and what I should bid to win it. And like that thing that was taken care of by the Victory auction before, which is here's what it would have taken to win, now needs to be calculated by a machine learning algorithm monitoring the historical price of inventory. And that's all the bid shading is. Bid shading is just we now run a second machine learning algorithm that is doing what's the expected clear price, not just our expected value. And people shouldn't charge for this. This is just literally what DSPs should do. Like it should be the job of the algorithm to say, okay, here is what I think you need to bid to win. And if
yeah.
someone bids shades and wins, it's what it's supposed to do.
I think what Vijay is saying is, isn't it fair game if the buyer's trying to, bid the minimum to win? Isn't it fair game for the seller to raise that minimum? And I think what you're saying or implying, what I hear you implying, is that what the buy side is doing is fair, minimum bid to win, but the sell side putting an artificial minimum, adding an artificial minimum to that is a false signal, right? That
Correct.
prohibits price
That's all that it
discovery.
is. And that's exactly what it is. And yes, in a
It
sentence,
prohibit.
I completely agree. It's an artificial, it's attempting to manipulate something that is actually a pure process. The bid shading process is pure. It is, we are trying to calculate the market clear price for something. There is
The market
nothing
value.
like weird. The
It's
market
funny
value
because
of something.
just the way this show is a buy side, sell side conversation, the algorithm should be having a buy side, sell side conversation, right? They should be negotiating just like yourself at a flea market or a rug store in Istanbul, right? You should be trying to discover the value of what you're buying. And the other guy, it's fair for him to discover the maximum you're willing to pay, but not fair to him turn you away when you're willing to pay more than it's worth, or more than you could get for it, right?
You mentioned the magic phrase here, which is mid bid to win. Like the reason
Yeah.
people like to buy from AdX is AdX passes after the fact min bid to win. Here is what this impression cleared at after you did it, so you can update your market value algorithms with min bid to win.
Yeah. But they only do that on other people's inventory, right?
What do you mean other people's?
They do that on AdX, which gets
Yeah.
yeah. It's only on their own. Yeah, you can only get it on their own SSP, and then it's not like they give mid bid to win on YouTube or search.
No. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. You don't get it on YouTube. Not allowed.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
interesting.
But yeah,
And
that's one of the data points that we pass along, by the way. Like this
oh,
is
you're
something
passing it.
where, yeah, we democratize mid bid to win. Yeah, it needs to happen. Like the ecosystem needs to have its own mid bid to win. And we've been trying to get into pre bid for a while, but it's tricky.
Yeah, I'm gonna front run an announcement here that came out of recent conversations pre-can, but Chalice is gonna have bid shading in the container, one of the new sell side decisioning features to come out probably Q4. If not Q4, then next year will be Chalice bid shading in the container, which will create friction with DSPs. We'll look for cooperative DSPs because DSPs who are trying to protect margins from overbidding or fees for bid shading are not going to appreciate this Chalice shading their bids in the container before they get to the SSP. So I explained containerization 2 weeks ago. What you're doing is applying a deal ID within the first millisecond that a bid request is available. But we're also going to have the ability after the DSP bids on that deal ID to shade the bid down to find to the minimum bid to win, which will make things more like they were in the second price auction world, where you could bid the value and trust that your bid will be, you only pay a penny more than what it was worth.
I have a question for you, Adam.
Yeah.
Doesn't this juice ROAS? Like, why make this as a separate feature? Shouldn't this just make your campaigns perform better than everyone else's because ROAS improves with this turned on?
Yeah, I'm not going to charge. What do you mean? Are you asking why? I'm not charging extra for it.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
You know how many DSPs charge extra for this?
Yeah.
Like, it's
Okay.
crazy. It makes me so angry that a DSP would charge extra.
Well, they're
for it.
leveraging their data advantage to do this really well. You have data across all advertisers on this. That's the thing.
Oh,
It's like all the advertisers in Trade Desk contribute to a data pool that Trade Desk uses to very accurately predict the minimum win to bid of every option.
Hmm.
And it's a question: is that fair? They contribute to the data pool, and then Trade Desk charges everyone back. But Charles, we think we could do it without that huge aggregation. So I think we even have maybe a stronger case for charging for separately for. But anyway, whatever. With Chalice, you pay for your algorithm, and that's that. And minimum bid to win is part of it. And yes, it will improve ROAS and hopefully send better signals back to publishers.
I love it.
We bid up. I could shape we'll bid the minimum to win, but unlike other firms, Chalice is out there saying, as you said about Ali's post, we will pay 4x. We will buy $20 video instead of $5 video because we're optimizing to something real and can see that the $20 video performs better, and we can slice the quality on sites looking at 12 different metrics, not even looking at the ones that Gareth sends yet, but 12 metrics, mostly from Sincera, to find out which $20 video is really worth $20. So that's that case study we did with Zillow. Entered it in Cannes, by the way. Hoped to be shortlisted, if not win. Did not. He's like, this is history. We're entering this in Cannes. We got a customer to pay $20 per video instead of $5 or even $4 in some cases, and they performed better. But the Cannes board surprisingly did not appreciate it and even did not even shortlist us.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And you have to pay 5,000 euros to see the work to find out who beat you. You just get a name of an agency. I think it's an agency in Bogota, Colombia, that won. Maybe it's better. I don't know. We'll never know.
No.
Hard to win a Cannes line.
Colombian video is also very inexpensive. I'll put it that way.
I don't know what they won with. I'm not going to disparage them. I don't want to be a sore loser, but we expected to at least get shortlisted. But the thing is, if you do get shortlisted, then you have to go to the Cannes Lions show. Did you notice there actually is a Cannes Festival of Creativity?
I did know this.
There's like a thing. Like Jimmy Fallon was there. There were NBA players. There's
Yeah,
comedy
no,
shows.
this is why we have Cannes. It's because of the Cannes Festival of Creativity. That's why the agency event's there, right? Cannes
Yeah,
Lions.
but you don't. But nobody who's going to the ad tech side buys a
Nope.
ticket. But if you
Nope.
get shortlisted, you have to. You can't get into
They're
the
not cheap,
award.
aren't they? Thousands and thousands of dollars.
5,000 euros.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
So we would have had to buy those for ourselves and our clients. So there's a bright side to not being shortlisted.
yeah. Well,
But shout out for Index, like they were evangelizing sell side decisioning at the event. I mean, I cut a video for them with my client Sally Lee from Canvas. That was exciting. But we teach about the container, but Index is the inventor and the real evangelist. So shout out Andrew Casale and the whole Index team. They were at Cannes. I think was teaching a lot of people about the container, and I taught almost everyone I met about it a lot, hearing it for the first time. So yeah, containerized RTB will be a thing.
I
Don't
mean, it
doubt
already is.
It's already a thing, but
It
I mean,
already is.
it's kind of an underground thing. It's going overground. We're like Raucous Records 1998 coming into the 99 2000 period. If you get that.
It's gonna get weird. It's gonna get real weird. Put it that way.
Yeah, AI is going to make every industry weird.
The weirdest. Perfect, man. We're at 55. I think we can wrap it up. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
everybody.
let's wrap it up. Yeah, I'm glad that I took some time in my French vacation to show up. Thanks to those of you who came. Thanks to Gareth for powering through COVID, showing
Thanks,
up
everybody.
today. Thanks
Yeah,
always to
I'm
David
back.
Maldo from Let's Do Video for the set.
Thank you,
Alright.
David.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next
Take us
week.
out.
Yo, the crowd is back, the lights are dim. Front rows buzzing, it's about to begin. Ad tech, ad talk, they're taking the stage. Adam and Gareth